Philosophers talk to our times. Bloodlines of Greece. One of the ways that Aristotelian thought has poisoned our entire way to understand politics is one of the things that I think is actually the most dangerous and the most complicated. It is the principle of the golden mean. Now, Aristotle introduces this idea, I think, in politics. He uses it throughout his works, but it's clearest in politics. You see, in politics, he creates a spectrum between the monarchy and the democracy. And democracy is practically anarchy, and among the monarchy always verges on tyranny. Much better, he says, much safer to be in the middle, to have the middle position. And the middle position for Aristotle is aristocracy. A bit of one, a bit of the other. A nice middle-of-the-road position where people were born into privilege. Very sensible government. He uses exactly the same argument, by the way, to prove that Greece is the best place in all the world to live. Well, it's not too hot, not too cold, right in the middle of the world. I've got a memory that the Persians used exactly the same argument. It's one of those arguments. You can use it come what may. Well, what has this got to do with us? Well, isn't this curse of the tyranny of centralism and the middle position somehow being always the best just simply the vice that is allowed to govern us? Let me explain. Here's a bit of a trivia question for you. Do you know where the phrases left wing and right wing come from? I don't. Oh, I do know, but I know that means I don't know. If you look it up on Wikipedia, they'll say it dates from the French Revolution. But it doesn't, because in the French Revolution, the left-wing parties were actually called the Montaigne, and the right-wing parties were actually called the Gironde. I think it dates from just after the French Revolution, just after Thermidor, where they get rebranded as left and right. It doesn't really matter. It just annoyed me. But the point is that immediately creates a spectrum. We have left-wing positions, we have right-wing positions, and then we have the middle position! Yay! And the middle position must always be best, mustn't it? Must it? First things first, I don't think there is a single redeeming feature in the idea of a political spectrum. I mean, I suppose there's party allegiance. Look at me. I self-identify as a socialist, okay? If you ask me, that is what I'll tell you I am. If you hit me with proper communist ideas, I will sit there and I'll think, are they proper communist? I mean, if it's proper communist ideas, then yeah, I'm fine. But if you're the communist of Lenin, I'm reaching for my sick bucket and then my mallet to hit you. It's loathsome. Or you hit me with some of the quasi-socialist posing that is all wanting to brand other nations rogue states if they don't like them and calls the doctrine of outrage socialism. No, it's not. It must just popularism in a different name. Because I'm a socialist, but I'm not a popularist in the sense that I believe that it is the job of politics to make people think and to re-examine their world. I'm a lone voice. My point is that my self-identification with the left doesn't give you a huge clue about those bits of the left I agree with and those bits of the right I agree with, those bits of the left I don't agree with, and that I think are just right-wing. Now, the left, which is thoughtful, is famously fractious, so this might not surprise you. But the right has at its heart two totally contradictory ideas. Nationalism and the free market are different ideas. 200 years ago, they were at daggers drawn. It was the Whigs and the Tories. They hated each other. So how on earth have they both been labelled onto the same spectrum and now called right-wing? And yes, it is true, a lot of the times you can be Margaret Thatcher, so both a xenophobe and a free marketeer. And because you don't need to use your brain terribly much, as long as nothing makes you makes those two conflict, you can be okay. You can survive. Your politics will be intact. But God save you from Brexit. Because the minute you have anything like Brexit, then the nationalism and the free marketeer are in absolute clear conflict. And the party promptly falls itself apart and the wing falls apart. Why? Because there wasn't a frigging right wing in the first place. Aristotle was just wrong. Worse than that, here in France, we've got a particularly virulent form of centralism. Macron. So Macron held an election last year, 2024, depending on when you're watching this. He lost that election. His party came third. All right? Now, because of the vagaries of the French system, it got the second largest number of MPs. The House is fundamentally divided three ways. Now, according to the rules of the game, he should have allowed the largest party, which was the Socialists, to have first shot at falling the government. He didn't. And he still doesn't. And he keeps on losing prime ministers or having to go back to old prime ministers who've been voted out by the parliament itself, because he's a committed centralist. He simply assumes that if he's in the middle position, that must be best. Oh, God save us from Aristotle. And it doesn't even work, even if you accept that the middle position is best. If you've ever read The Yes Minister, the book I mean, it will explain this very clearly. There the civil service are always committed to what they call the golden median, which are the middle positions of political parties, which are neither left-wing nor right-wing. They're just bureaucratic. They don't fit in with the spectrum. Worse than that, how else can you understand the agony of the encroaching evil that is Tony Blair without understanding the fallacy of the middle position? Because the question is always in the middle of what particular spectrum. You go back 40 years ago in British politics, 50 years, I think I'd need to go back. God, I'm 56. 60 years, just before I was born. The middle position in British politics was Keynesianism. Perfectly valid position. Thatcher changed that. In a radical sequence of moves, she makes the middle position the free marketeer, the free market position. And Keynesianism now is dangerously socialist. It's not socialist. Jeremy Corbyn is many things, and probably a lovely man, but he's not a straight socialist. He's a Keynesian. Fine, I'm very happy with that. Good for him. But it is a position that Macmillan could have agreed with. My point is that the middle position has simply swapped. One has been torn out and one has been put in. And what has this got to do with Tony Blair? Well, if you are as old as I am, you will easily remember the hope of the 1997 general election. You'll remember it like yesterday. I was brought up under Margaret Thatcher. I was brought up under the destruction of the old Keynesian system when its heart was torn out, and with it its commitment to communities, and this horrible poisoned heart the free market was put in its stead. And Tony Blair, although he allowed for free market positions in them their days, felt like a tonic. He was going to be some sort of left-wing politician. And I would still argue for the first 4 years of his government, which is when I campaigned for him, he was a reasonable prime minister. If he had died in 2000, say, he would be remembered with a great deal of affection. The man who helped bring peace to Northern Ireland. The man who introduced a Freedom of Rights Bill. Who created the right to know. Who allowed for the right to roam. All sorts of moves, and not just in my own field of the arts. He liberalised and made free. And then? Well, then his middle position changed. The free marketeers hardened up their own middle, and the war on terror happened, and his own conception of what the middle was shifted. I'm sure if you asked the evil little shit that he is now whether he was still in the middle position between tyranny and anarchy, he would say yes. Strong government, a good bureaucracy, a knowledge of the free market, these are all sensible provisions for the modern age. Except, of course, for him, they're now defined by Rupert Murdoch. They're defined by a right-wing perspective. He still locates himself in the middle, but it is in the middle of demons. My point is that middles were wandering stars. There is no one spectrum we are all caught on. There is rather a crazy, hazy line where demons set themselves in the middle and claim they must be kings. and use all the logic, the weight of Aristotle to do so. And until we free ourselves from that idea, from that necessary association of a political spectrum and something in the middle, something that must be best or at least more truthful or more representative of us, unless we kill the middle of the road position and admit there isn't a political spectrum that loops round. Loops round? How does a spectrum loop round? There wasn't one in the first place. There are just philosophers, great philosophies that unite and divide people. Until we face that truth that is actually uncomfortable, nurtured as we are in Aristotelianism, I don't think we'll ever understand the politics that make our world.